Hey guys, welcome to episode 17 of the Rollout Show. We're joining you again from our studios above Times Square.
We don't even have a studio, let alone is it in New York. We're in my office right now.
If you dream it, you can do it. As Kevin Garnett said, and he's a Hall of Famer, anything is possible!
Well, he's not a Hall of Famer yet, right?
Not yet, but he will be. He will be.
I'm just
Let's
kidding.
be real.
Could you imagine?
Come on, he will be.
Could you imagine if he wasn't? That'd be crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. All three of those big three are easy Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Whether you think they're overrated or not, they're in the Hall of Fame.
Who's overrated but out of those three?
Probably Paul Pierce.
You think?
I mean, that's not me saying that. I don't think they're overrated, but there's a lot of talk of a lot of people thinking Paul Pierce is really overrated.
They're wrong. Paul
Yeah.
Pierce is great.
I saw him one time. The truth.
The truth?
Truth.
He's great. He's a great player. Well, I guess was.
Yeah.
He wasn't so good this season, and now he's done.
I mean, he was riding the pine pretty hard this season, but I mean,
he's like 40, right? He needed to. I think out of those three, if I wanted one on my team, I'd rather have Ray Allen. Hey, go stand in the corner. We're gonna throw you the ball for the game-winning shot.
Honestly, it would go Ray Allen 1, KG 2, Paul Pierce 3. If I'm being honest with you.
You know, if the Cavs had Ray Allen instead of Kyle Korver, they probably would have gone more than 5 games. Because that, the game-winning shot that Kyle Korver missed in the corner.
In the name of Charles Oakley. Really?
Anyway.
Yeah. Hey. Welcome.
Let's move on to the show.
So you know how last week on episode 16 or 16, I just remembered
it's
that.
Not even good pronunciation.
It's not, but you know what? If Justin Bieber can be on a Spanish song without really speaking any Spanish, I can throw in a little Spanish in the podcast.
Can you at least say the word correctly?
16?
Yes, he says.
16.
Okay.
There we go. That's better. Yeah. Hey. Anyway, but we're on 17 today. Right? There it is. Anyway, so we said...
No, go ahead.
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All
this
right.
isn't Spanish vocabulary training.
Thank you. That's a
I'll
different
just
podcast
let you
for
be
a different
wrong.
day.
It's fine.
All right, that's fine.
Also on the Rollout Media network of shows, we have our foreign language podcast. So you could check that out on iTunes or at the Rollout. That's a joke. Please don't do
taught
that.
by yours truly, Weston. You can
Uno.
pronounce it. Uno, dos. What's the next one? Tres.
Just move on.
Anyway, so we said we were pretty much done with the NBA heavy shows. We're big fat liars. We lied pretty hard. A lot went on. So
way more than usual in this first week of the offseason in the NBA. So
we're just getting started.
Yeah. Instead of this having almost no NBA, it's going to be 100% NBA.
With
basically.
maybe like one mention of football.
Here, we'll do it right now.
All right.
Derek Carr. He got a big new contract. He deserves it. Good job, Derek Carr.
Highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now.
Jeremy Maclin. Cut by the Chiefs. They probably thought he was overpaid, but now they have nobody. Good signing by the Ravens.
And the Chiefs, surprisingly, re-signed Andy Reid to a contract extension, and in the same day fired their general manager, John Dorsey.
Probably because he cut Jeremy Maclin. All right, good job. NFL over. Now we can get to the good stuff.
And he clashed with the owner. But those things happen. Anyway.
So the thing that we promised not to talk about anymore. Let's talk about some NBA.
Yeah, let's talk basketball.
Don't. What do you want to talk about first? There's so much.
Should we just start with the number 1 pick?
Fultz?
Yeah, Markelle Fultz. The Sixers dynasty that's coming, potentially.
Dude.
Trust in the process, man.
Embiid. Fultz.
Ben Simmons. Saric.
That's a good... I mean, look. Team's not a contender. Let's be real. But that team is playoff capable.
That team
especially
is
exciting.
In the East.
It's great for if you're a Philly fan. like you have these 3 young dynamic players. You have something to be excited about. Obviously, Ben Simmons is basically a rookie, and Fultz is going to be a rookie. And rookies in the NBA generally don't come out and perform incredibly well. Usually their minutes need to be limited and all that. I have a feeling they're going to try not to do that with this team and just, all right, Fultz, Simmons, you're both starters now. Let's do it. And that's probably how I would handle it too, as assuming Simmons is healthy. But if you're a Philly fan, you have a good young team. I mean, other than the obvious, I can't really think of a team I'd rather be the fan of right now than the 76ers, other than maybe the T-Wolves, which we're going to talk about them later.
Right.
But if you're a Phillies fan, I mean, the process, it's showing signs of life.
Sam Hinkie, man. He knew what he was doing.
Well, I mean, everyone knew what he was doing. No one thought it would work. Because the idea is if you're this bad for this long, now you have a bad culture. So even though they look good on paper, we don't know how they'll actually perform. They need to be good first.
You know what he did, though? He did a complete baseball teardown. I mean, that's honestly what he did. You pick up the guys who you think you can flip at the deadline, who just really hadn't gotten a contract that they wanted from somebody else, and you flip them to a contender. I mean, he totally baseballed it.
And I have a feeling that this is the end of the process because they gave up their first rounder next year for Fultz. They wanted Fultz. It feels like that felt like
they didn't give up their first rounder. They gave up the Lakers' first rounder.
Oh, that's right.
So they still have theirs.
It's still a high pick, presumably.
It's
assuming they don't trade for Paul George, but we're gonna get there later.
Well, no, it only goes to the Celtics if it falls between 2 and 5.
Right.
And then if it doesn't fall between 2 and 5, then it goes. They get the Kings' first round pick in 2019. So
you know what?
Philly can still get a good player next year if they want.
At some point, though, you have to start trying to win. I
think they are.
Which is the argument against the process. Is now there's this culture where everyone on the team's used to losing. Can you flip that switch and start winning? I think you probably can if your team's good enough, and I think their team's good enough to at least be... I think if, assuming they try and everyone stays healthy, they'll finish somewhere between like the 7th and the 11th spot next year in the East. They'll be mediocre, decent, probably around where Charlotte's going to finish. That's probably a comparable team to how I think they're going to perform next year. But you should be excited if you're a 76ers fan for the first time in a long time. There's some talent there, some really good talent. Ben Simmons and Fultz, obviously it's just projection, but 2 of the best prospects to come out of the league, or into the NBA in presumably like a decade or so, according to most experts. So we'll see.
And honestly, they kind of did flip the switch last year when they went on that like 30-game or 15-game stretch, where they had last season. And Philly fans were excited because, a lot of them were coming to the...
Well, Embiid is just crazy good.
He is. Like, I love... Joel Embiid's probably one of my favorite players, like newcoming players. Mm-hmm. Him and the Greek Freak are pretty much up there for me.
The problem is, can he stay healthy? And we don't really know.
Been his question.
We don't know last year if he was actually super banged up or if he just had minor injuries and they decided to tank and just pulled him out for the season and kept Ben Simmons out. We don't know. I'm hoping it was just a minor injury so that next season we can see fully healthy 76ers and it'll be exciting.
See, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think they saw that they weren't really going to do anything this year and decided to sell, and that they knew what was coming, that they'd have a shot at Fultz if they really just shut everybody down and got them healthy for next season. And I think that's exactly what they did. Just kind of tanked it.
I have nothing more to add.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I tried to be Marshawn Lynch.
What?
It didn't work.
What?
Yeah. Speaking of Marshawn Lynch, he's going to be running great with the Raiders this season, right? Who said we're only talking NBA here?
Didn't we
talked
already
about
talk
the Raiders
about that?
twice.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about that before.
We've talked about the Raiders twice in one show.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we brought up Marshawn Lynch being signed by the Raiders. That happened several weeks ago.
No, I'm just saying he's going to be good.
He will probably get 700 yards.
Okay.
I agree. He'll probably be their starter. He'll get between 10 and 15 carries a game, and he'll get somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 yards.
Yeah.
I agree. 5 yards a carry-ish. He'll be good.
Yeah, he'll be pretty good. Yeah, for what they need him for, that's pretty good.
I wouldn't draft him in fantasy because I think he's too old to carry the ball 20 times a game, but...
I mean, honestly, I think he'll probably be like a flex, if anything, if I pick him up kind of later on in the draft.
We don't need to talk about fantasy football right now.
We will be soon, though.
Soon. Very soon.
Very soon.
A couple months.
Actually, we kind of need to start getting that figured out.
Yeah, we do.
Some of the teams are in like Africa right now, so I have to wait on them.
Maybe we'll have a Rollout Show league.
Ooh.
Maybe. We'll see if there's any interest for it.
I don't know. Jose Bautista followed us, so I mean, we kind of got one guy right now.
Maybe Joey Bats will join the league.
Joey Bats, please join our fantasy football league because that would be killer. That'd be awesome.
Anyway.
So I guess we should move on more with our NBA discussion. Instead of Marshawn Lynch, fantasy football, and Jose Bautista. Shout out to Joey Bats, though. You're awesome. Anyway, should we get into the biggest topic, what happened during the draft? The biggest news.
I assume Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, that's right. Jimmy Buckets.
How is Chicago so dumb? How?
They just don't. They kind of have a symptom that the Magic had for a few years. They can't figure out what they're actually trying to do. Are they rebuilding? Are they going for it? Are they building around guards? They don't have an identity right now.
I think it's clear last season they wanted to be a team that goes for it. They thought they could get something out of Rondo. They brought in D. Wade, who was fine.
And they really got something out of Rondo in the playoffs. Had he not gotten hurt, they could have beaten the Celtics.
They had a decent chance. I'm not going to say they would have beaten the Celtics. The Celtics were really good.
Oh, yeah. I said could have, but it's like they won the first 2 games in Boston. I didn't expect that.
No, nobody did. It was shocking. So they need to just figure out what they're doing. If they had just traded Jimmy Butler last season, they could have got a lottery pick out of it, a top 5 lottery pick. Jimmy Butler's too good. Jimmy Butler's a top 20 guy in the league. He's one of the best two-way players in the league. He can play the 2 or the 3. He's a good scorer. One of the best perimeter defenders we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years. He's great. He just... the Timberwolves stole him. They gave up Chris Dunn, who they drafted last year and hated after he played a full season. And Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine, who they don't really believe can be a starting point guard on a championship roster. So they dump 2 guys they don't really like.
Who's coming off an ACL injury.
Right, who tore his ACL last year. For Jimmy Butler, who is one of the best 15 players in the league. 15 to 20. Probably top 15.
Oh, yeah. Top 15.
Arguably top 10. He wouldn't be in my top 10, but he'd be close. What are you doing? And they flipped. I think the T-Wolves had the 7th pick, so they flipped the 7th and the 11th pick.
Yeah.
Didn't get anyone great out of it. Who cares?
7 and 16, I think is what it was.
Who?
But yeah, it's not like that big of a drop, honestly. Because they didn't get the elite top of the top, top 4 picks or something.
If you needed to be in the top 5 in this draft. You had Fultz, Lonzo, Jason Tatum, Josh Jackson, and Fox were considered the top 5 elite talents.
And then Jonathan Isaac on the outside, potentially making his way into that. And then you had guys like Malik Monk, who are just a great shooter, but they don't really think is going to get anything past what he is right now,
Oh, that depends on the team.
Yeah.
It's tough to project some of these guys. Because some guys, like Okafor, you assume is going to develop a mid-range jump shot and still plays like Shaq.
Yep.
Not in a positive way. If he was Shaq, sure, he'd be fine right now. He's like
but he's not.
Shaq, but way worse.
Yeah. He's in the mold of Shaq, but just not the skill set.
No jump shot. Slow defensively.
Lumbers down the floor.
Yeah, he's just slow. And not very athletic. Anyway, so the Timberwolves are, that's a team to watch out for next season. I know we said the exact same thing last season, but for real though, if Karl Anthony Towns can figure out how to play defense, it's a big if, because he's amazing offensively, he's not a great rim protector. If he can figure out how to play better defense, that team with Wiggins, who's a great defender, great two-way player, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jimmy Butler, assuming they all can share the ball and get along, that's always an if, because you never know. Most situations don't turn out like the Warriors, where everyone's happy to just pass the ball. Draymond Green is happy to take 6 shots a game. Like, where else do you find that? So that's, or even the Cavs, where Kevin Love's happy taking 9 shots this game when he used to take 25.
Because he knows there's going to be one game coming up in the future where he's wide open and he's going to get his, basically.
And then miss, and then they lose in 5. Anyway.
Oh, be respectful to Kevin Love. If you're taking shots at Tristan Thompson, I'm okay with it, but be respectful to Kevin Love.
Kevin Love was fine in the series. He wasn't great defensively. We don't need to talk about the finals more. That took like 3 weeks of our podcast.
Yeah, it did.
How do you think the Timberwolves are going to be next year?
I think they're going to be really good. And
you think they're going to make the playoffs?
The main thing is Thibodeau, because it reunites Jimmy Butler and Thibodeau, and Butler has best seasons under Thibodeau and kind of clashed with Hoiberg. Like that was out there. He just loved Chicago. He loved the city and loved the organization for taking a chance on him. But it was mainly Thibodeau who brought him in there.
Well, Thibodeau is one of the best coaches in the NBA. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. I'm not sure what happened last season and why they weren't better. But he's one of the best defensive coaches in the NBA, and he's always gotten more out of his team than you would expect given the talent, which in my opinion, is the sign of a good coach. It's why I would consider Greg Popovich a better coach than Phil Jackson ever was. Phil Jackson had the best talent to ever play the game, and Popovich always... look what he did with Kawhi Leonard. He turned Kawhi Leonard into a defensive specialist to the second best player in basketball. Or third, depending. We can have that argument another time.
Yeah, I'll have that argument another time. Or first. Depending if you want to make the argument.
No. I'll have that argument right now.
Just kidding. We all know that Carmelo Anthony is the best player in the game.
Absolutely. Have you seen his ISO game?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. That's why the Knicks are winning it all next year.
Just dribble, shoot. It goes in every time.
That's right. And then, occasionally when something doesn't work well, you just blame it on Porzingis or the coaching staff. It's fine.
Easy.
Anyway, the Timberwolves are going to be great next season, I think. I don't know about... They're going to be much better, and they're going to be a playoff team. I will say that.
Where in the playoffs would you stick them? Because the West is
stacked. That's the thing. Because look at Portland. Portland disappointed epically last season, and a lot of things went wrong, and then they still made the playoffs. Because you have to say Portland is a better team than the 8 seed. So I would expect Portland to be around the 5 or 6 seed next season.
I would agree.
And I would say somewhere, honestly, 6, 7, 8 for the Timberwolves. That's not really an indictment on their roster or their talent. It's just the way the West is.
I completely agree. I think their ceiling next season is probably the 6th seed, and their floor is probably around 10 or 11. Just it depends on their team defense, how their bench plays. They're not an incredibly deep team.
That's a big thing, like who they pick up in free agency, because there is a lot of talk of Derrick Rose going back with Thibodeau, going to Minnesota, because they were looking at trading for him at the deadline.
Yeah, but Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler never played great together once Jimmy Butler flourished into an all-around player.
That's the thing. He would have to be the backup point guard, and he'd have to accept that role, and that's just the thing. Can Derrick Rose actually accept that role?
No.
I'm with you. I don't think he can, but if anybody could get him to
send Joakim Noah to the Timberwolves too.
Hey, let's just reunite the core.
Center.
Just reunite the core. Just bring them all back. Jeez.
Anything else Anything else to add?
Sorry, I thought something else was going on. My bad. I apologize.
No, you're good.
But we can see what they do. I think they're gonna get a few free agents to go there just because.
Well, it's like the Milwaukee situation.
Exactly.
It's not a team you would usually look at, but you look at this team with Jimmy Butler and Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. Why wouldn't you want to play with them? Say in Milwaukee, why wouldn't you want to play with a Greek freak?
Exactly. And then you have Rubio, who's a pass-first point guard that's going to be awesome in that system.
Rubio the last couple months, once Zach LaVine went down, was fantastic last season. They probably would have made the playoffs. Well, I don't know how their pace was, but I think they would have been much closer to making the playoffs the last couple months of the season.
Yeah, they were much closer than initially anticipated because they started out really awful. And that shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I picked them to make the playoffs last year. I picked them to squeak in, but I thought, hey, you have Towns and Wiggins. You're adding one of the best coaches in the NBA. How do you not make the playoffs? Well, they showed us.
And I think it just goes to show you it sometimes, especially with younger players, it takes a year, especially when you bring a new coach in and everything and a new system. And I think a lot of that also goes to the fact they just really found out Chris Dunn was not the guy he thought they thought he was.
He was supposed to be their answer at point guard, and he was not. Not great.
When you look at it, he was the top prospect the Celtics had, and then the Celtics were planning on picking him at 3, and then he didn't work out with them and didn't meet with them, so then they wanted Jaylen Brown.
Lucky for them.
Yeah, lucky for them.
Jaylen Brown, apparently, the day after they got knocked out, was in the gym working on his game. That's how you know when a player's going to be good.
That's right.
When the day after you get knocked out of the playoffs, you're working on your jump shot and your game. And he's already great defensively. That dude's going to be good.
He's going to be good. It's just going to take him a little bit to find his identity in the league. That's how
almost I feel like we see these rookies come up and we just expect them to be amazing right at the start. That almost never happens in the NBA.
And if it does, if you realize when it does happen, it's on a team that is really, really tanking.
Because they're just letting them take 30 shots a game.
Exactly. You have somebody like Flourish because he's really the only option on the team with either a lot of older guys who just are trying to keep their career going or a lot of people just really trying to make it in the league. And you have this one star.
There are guys that were supposed to be incredible, like Ingram last year was not great. And most people still think he's going to be incredible. But last season was not good. It's unless you're LeBron James, it's tough to come in and be great right away. It's the reason Joel Embiid played 30 games and he was up for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He didn't. Who won Rookie of the Year?
I don't think they announced it yet.
No, it's probably going to be Brogdon, right?
I kind of want it to be Brogdon because of what he did for a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree. But the fact that Embiid is in the discussion, having played 30 games, shows you just how little and how not well rookies play when they get into the league.
Well, and then think about it. It's Embiid, Saric, and Brogdon. It's two teammates, and Saric played basically the entire season, and it's his first year in the league coming over from Europe, and he played great, but you think about it, it's like he was really good for what he was, but it wasn't like he was lights out like LeBron James or something.
Yeah, it's tough for guys to come in immediately. And that I was going to say unlike the NFL, but that's probably not fair because you have so many rookies in the NFL, you're going to have a couple guys just break out and be amazing.
Well, and then you have people like Zeke who go into the perfect situation, who has the best O-line probably anybody's ever seen.
And Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and Dak
same situation.
Yeah. You have great wide receivers, basically just a great overall team that had a really, really bad season because everybody was injured.
Well, and you also in the NFL, you see guys win Rookie of the Year in positions where if you have pure amazing athleticism you can get by, and then in the NBA there isn't a position like that. Like the position used to exist and it's dying. His name is Josh Jackson, where you're an incredible athlete, and so you would think you could come in and be great right away, but you have to have the skill, you have to have the jump shot, you have to have the defensive presence, you have to be good skill-wise. You can't just be ultra athletic.
Right.
And that I think that's probably why rookies in the NBA don't break out the same way they do in other sports. Anything else to add on this topic other than the Bulls really should have just traded?
I mean, they should have traded him at the deadline or at least waited more into the offseason, I guess. Like, I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing because it seems like they're stockpiling guards that can't shoot. So that really is kind of surprising me. I don't really know what they're going for.
I don't think they know what they're going for. I don't understand why they didn't just trade Jimmy Butler for the number 1 pick with the Celtics and get Fultz. I don't understand.
Because, I mean, they got Cameron Payne last year from the Thunder, who they think are going to develop into a pretty good point guard. Then you got Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine. You got D Wade's already on the roster. He's just there until
another year. Until he opted in.
He opted in, then they'll probably buy him out halfway through the year. Yep. Potentially, you know.
So that they can tank.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then the other guard is kind of escaping. You have Rondo. He's going to be shoot. He's going to be gone. Yeah. I fully expect Rondo to be gone.
Yeah, he won't tank. If there's a few guys in the league that I feel like even though they aren't amazing players, they would refuse to tank, Rondo's one of those guys.
Rondo is definitely one of those guys. You'll see Rondo jacking up 40 shots or something.
Like, if no one else is going to play, I will. He's going to be Russell Westbrook. He'll average a triple-double for the season, and that would be great. And you know what?
I mean, he is one of those guys that is really revered. I mean, that was the whole thing. It was Jimmy Butler and D Wade versus Rondo and all the younger guys.
Well, because Rondo wanted to put in the effort. Like, and I don't have all the details on that story, but it does make me kind of think twice about Jimmy Butler. Obviously, Tom Thibodeau knows Jimmy Butler, and if I was the GM or I guess he is the GM.
He is, president and coach.
If I was the owner, then I would trust what Thibodeau says about Jimmy Butler. If he says, oh, no, Jimmy Butler will work hard, he's great, then I would trust that. But the fact that Rondo, who's a known grinder, and he wants to play great, even though he's not great anymore, like, it makes me question Jimmy Butler just a tad.
Here's an interesting point that I got from you saying that. Rondo to the T-Wolves.
But him and Jimmy Butler don't get along.
I mean, they got along towards the end of the year when they won.
Plus, he'd have to be the backup point guard.
Yeah.
You want to start Rubio.
No, you want to start Rubio, but the thing about him is they have like similar skill sets, him and Rubio.
Oh, yeah. The pass first.
Elite passers.
Yep.
Which is really, really what you want on that team.
Yes and no. I agree. Yes. Like, that's the perfect situation for a guy who can't shoot. But if you're the Timberwolves, it's good for now. Eventually, if you want to make a title run, you have to have, unless Wiggins, or I guess they could always have Wiggins or Butler be the point guard.
Yeah.
In some lineups. Your point guard has to be able to score. It's the great teams the last 5 years and foreseeably into the future, their point guards are great scorers. It's the reason the Clippers can't do anything, because Chris Paul's not a great scorer. Chris Paul has to facilitate, and it means he can't take over a game. And so he has to rely on other people, and those people let him down. So
that's why honestly I think Chris Paul, if he left the Clippers, he could only work a couple of places if he wanted to still be a starter, and one of them is San Antonio.
And the other is wherever LeBron is.
Yep, that's San Antonio and wherever LeBron is.
In San Antonio.
Actually, I do too, because they seem to make that work playing older school in a way.
I think that team, even with LaMarcus Aldridge as your third guy, I think that's a contender. Like, I think Chris Paul's that good.
In that situation.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, Chris Paul's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So he's that. I would say the same thing about Kyle Lowry. If Kyle Lowry went to the Spurs, I really like that team now. Sorry, I got distracted. What were we even talking about?
We're talking about Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler. And
I don't know. Whatever. I lost my train of thought. I got distracted. Squirrel.
Up. Anyway, let's move on to winners and losers of the draft. I have a couple of opinions on this. I want to see what you think.
Give them to me.
Give them to you? Okay. Big winner, in my opinion, Sacramento Kings. I love the moves they made. They got their guy who they were wanting to trade up for anyway, and they kind of gambled to make sure he fell, which he did. De'Aaron Fox. He was their guy from number 1.
Fox was a great pick. They may have had a great draft. I am personally disappointed that they didn't draft Monk, just because I would have loved to have seen Fox and Monk play together in the NBA the same way they did in college. But I guess they had an okay draft. I don't know if they had the best draft. But sure, I'd call them a winner.
Okay.
Why not?
Yes, I mean, I really like Justin Jackson, proven guy out of North Carolina. I really like that pick. And then also Harry Giles. I mean, you get him with the 20th pick. He's an elite talent. So, I mean, yeah, it's the same thing.
Is he's torn 2 ACLs since he was an elite talent. He averaged 4 points a game last year.
That's kind of the risk you have with Embiid, though. It was the same thing you had with Embiid. But,
oh, yeah. You're rolling the dice. It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of play. But I guess it's not really that high risk because it's the 20th pick, and you don't really... Once you get past the lottery, you don't expect much out of the NBA draft anyway.
Exactly. And you already got your guy, De'Aaron Fox. You got Justin Jackson.
De'Aaron Fox is another guy. If he can get a jump shot, he'll be amazing. He's got to get a jump shot, though.
I think on that team... Because, I mean, they're not going anywhere next season. I think he'll be able to live and learn in the league, and I think it will help him out compared to whether if he was the really athletic guy, say if he was going to the Celtics and was trying to shoot bricks or something, and they weren't going in, then he would lose playing time. So with Sacramento, it works out for him.
Agreed. And I think him and Buddy Hield could be an interesting combo going into the future.
I agree. And
they need to get their organization figured out though, because that team's a joke.
It's working out because they hired Scott Perry, who is the assistant GM in Orlando, as their president of basketball ops. They still have Vlade Divac. I mean, it's getting better.
Look.
I know you're gonna criticize me for saying what I said, but I have reasons behind. Trusting.
I know you like the Magic.
You know why?
How are you gonna say? He's a good person to run an organization because he came from the Magic?
I will say this.
What?
No, he's widely respected around the league. Most people thought he would be the successor to Hennigan, and he was the guy that disagreed with Hennigan on everything. He was trying to trade for Boogie Cousins. He wanted to go out and make all these different moves. And he was kind of instead of being the yes man in the room to Hennigan, he was the no man.
That's fine. We need to see proof of that. Like, I understand what you're saying, but he was also in the front office that signed Serge Ibaka, or traded for Serge Ibaka.
That was all Hennigan, though.
I mean, sure, you say that. According to who?
According to that, Hennigan was one of the guys scouting Serge Ibaka when he came from Oklahoma City.
That's fine, but we don't know for sure what he did and didn't agree with. He can say whatever he wants. It doesn't mean it's true. All we know is that he was part of the front office that made several really bad moves. I just find it humorous that you say that means he's going to be a leader of a good organization.
It's not just me, though, because he's like very widely respected around the league.
That doesn't mean anything. So was Phil Jackson. Look how he's done.
Okay, Phil Jackson's a Hall of Fame coach. Of course he's widely respected around the league.
I'm just saying.
At least this guy's been an executive. Anyway, I think they're getting everything settled. They have a clear direction in which they're going. They're leaning on more athletic scorers. He's what they're going with instead of building around Boogie Cousins because they clearly saw they couldn't win with Boogie.
I agree. They had to get rid of Boogie, and which is crazy because Boogie really didn't want to leave.
Yeah, which is really crazy.
But I think that's more to do with the money than the team itself. I would call them a winner. I'll give you an agreement overall.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm less positive than you, but I would say they came out better than they were before. So I'll give them a green check mark.
Ding! Ding! Sweet.
Next winner?
Next winner. I mean, clearly, Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, that's clear.
Agreed. They got Fultz for probably a little bit cheaper than they should have been able to, which kind of sounds wrong because I'm also going to say the Celtics were a winner because they got the guy they wanted plus a little extra draft picks because they wanted Jason Tatum.
It worked out for both teams.
There were a couple trades, and we have another one to talk about later on, that worked out for both teams, and I would agree this is one. The 76ers really wanted Fultz, and they got Fultz. The Celtics liked Fultz, but weren't as high on him, would be happy with Jason Tatum, so they got him and another draft pick. Plus they already have a point guard. To me, this shows that they're clearly wanting to move forward with Isaiah Thomas. I don't know if that's the right or the wrong decision, but it's what they're going to do. And now they have a new dynamic scorer, which is what they need because right now they're relying on Isaiah Thomas on the offensive end way too much.
Way too much. It's not working.
So I would agree on the 76ers. Do you agree on my Celtics also winning?
Oh, I agree with you on the Celtics because I think they kind of pulled one over on everybody because most people thought they were wanting, Josh Jackson. But clearly Tatum was their guy. They really didn't respond well to Josh Jackson canceling the workout. And then the trade happened and Josh Jackson's like, oh, no, like, let's work out and everything. And the Celtics kind of like, nah.
We'll stick with Jason Tatum.
We'll stick with Jason Tatum. That's
Which is fine because the little bit I saw of Josh Jackson is he's a great athletic player who can't shoot. And can that sort of player survive in today's NBA?
Honestly, would he get enough playing time with the Celtics to develop a shot and get enough minutes? He's going to get it with the Suns.
Yeah.
He's not going to really get it with the Celtics because, you already have Jaylen Brown fighting for minutes trying to, work his way into the league.
He's basically playing the same role where he's a defensive specialist who plays a little bit on offense. That's what Josh Jackson would be.
Exactly, and you already kind of had that guy. So I like
his 10 minutes a game guarding LeBron.
Exactly, and Jason Tatum's just a little more established as a scorer at this point. He's a little more polished of a prospect.
He's a way better scorer, not even close defensively.
Yeah.
But offensively, he's leagues ahead of Josh Jackson.
He fits better on a contending team than Josh Jackson would.
I agree with that.
And then, speaking of Jackson, this is kind of more along what you were saying with the Celtics and 76ers. I also think that's a win for the Suns because I think he's really the player that the Suns wanted all along. And they either wanted Lonzo or him. And with the Suns kind of rebuilding, kind of starting to go for it, he'll have ample opportunity to work his way into the league, develop his shot, and really be that athletic guy because the primary scoring option is going to be, Devin Booker. So,
yep, I agree. I have a loser for you.
Who's your loser?
Us, as fans, because the Lakers drafted Lonzo. And how entertaining would it be had the Lakers not drafted Lonzo? LeVar would be so angry.
LeVar would have had to throw away his hat.
I would want to know what excuse he would say. It was all a smokescreen. We knew we were going to Sacramento.
And had, De'Aaron Fox went to the Lakers and had that rivalry happen. Oh, my goodness.
See, the fans lost. That's who lost. No, but seriously, I think the only clear loser in this draft was the Bulls. Other than that, pretty much everyone else was meh. They were fine. I think the T-Wolves had a great draft, not because of the draft, but because they got Jimmy Butler. I think every other team was fine. They didn't mess it up, but the Bulls, they lost Jimmy Butler. So what are you going to do?
I would maybe throw Cleveland into that mix because of the turmoil they had going on, because they had a couple of deals in place for picking up guys in the second round, like buying the draft rights to Ivan Rabb, who ended up getting the Magic traded his rights to the Grizzlies. They apparently had a deal in place with the Cavs that ended up falling through.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say anything that happens in the second round results in winning or losing. There are almost no amazing players drafted in the second round.
Paul Millsap, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, Draymond Green. There's a few, obviously. Most great players are picked in the top 15, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what's the difference with this draft, though.
Anyone drafted in the second round is a flyer. No one is going to tell you that they thought Isaiah Thomas was going to be this good. No one's going to tell you that they thought Draymond Green was going to be an all-NBA player. It's just not true. I don't care who says it. If they really thought that, they would have drafted them in the first round. Like, the second round is all about luck, basically.
That's why I think,
it's like the seventh round in the NFL.
That's why I think they could have just gotten somebody for cheap that they need to kind of fill in on the roster with the Cavs, and he would be more of the center that Tristan Thompson is not. That's why I thought Avon Rabb would have been really good for them had they been able to make that deal, and then it just
but there's
fell
no
through.
way to know if he can even play in the NBA. Like, how do you know how strong he is?
I mean, he was going to be a lottery pick last year and decided to stay.
And then dropped significantly.
Yeah, their coach quit.
Look.
Mid-season. There were other things going on there. He was drafted 35.
I'm going to fine, sure. The Cavs are losers. I don't feel comfortable calling anyone a loser based on what happens in the second round in the NBA draft. It was my whole point.
Well, my thing is just like, they could have... It would have been good for them to get a couple of younger pieces to add to that roster, and that's my main reason why calling them, because they had a deal in place and then didn't go through with it. And had David Griffin been there or had a full-time GM there instead of Dan Gilbert trying to run things, then it could have gone through.
Sounds like a segue to me.
That's a segue if I've ever seen one. So, speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, David Griffin and the Cavaliers have agreed to part ways due to actually really philosophical differences, because they didn't even get to talking about money because they disagreed on the direction of the team so much.
I would say this really boils down to the Jimmy Butler deal, right? Like, the disagreement was Dan Gilbert didn't want Jimmy Butler. Okay. So I see both sides in this, and I'll try and explain them to you, and you tell me how you feel about it. From David Griffin's perspective, you have this great team, an amazing roster handpicked by you and LeBron, better than probably would have won the title in most seasons in the last 10 years. Would you? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
You come across this Warriors team and you have no chance. Now, if you want to keep LeBron, you have to win titles. The only way to keep LeBron is to get another superstar. You need a fourth guy. So you mortgage even more of the future than you already have to get Jimmy Butler to make a really, what would have been amazing series next year between the Warriors and the Cavs. And you've got a really good shot at winning a championship next year. Okay? If you're Dan Gilbert, you've already given up your future for LeBron.
Oh, yeah,
You
absolutely.
have basically nothing left other than Kyrie and Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. You have no young pieces. You have no draft picks. You're done. Like, this is your team. Once LeBron is gone, if you can't get Kyrie to take over, like, it's going to be another decade before you're good again. Why would you want to give up even more for a guy who's 28 and not 23? Like, I could see both sides there. And it comes down to LeBron. Like, is LeBron going to be there after next season? If he's not, then why would you want a Jimmy Butler on your team when you're going to lose LeBron and won't be able to contend again?
See, that's the thing where I think they disagreed on, because I think there's a much higher chance that LeBron stays if Griffin is there. But from my understanding from the reports I read, Dan Gilbert, after Griffin left, was calling up the Bulls to try to get Jimmy Butler and calling the Pacers on Paul George. So I don't...
But I also saw reports where before Griffin got fired, Cavs players were texting Jimmy Butler being like, "Oh, it's going to be so great. We're going to win a championship." And then once Griffin got fired, "Don't come here. This is a horrible organization. Stay away."
That's what I saw too, that like it started out that Jimmy Butler was getting open to coming to Cleveland. I mean, he really didn't have any say in the matter, but he was more open to it.
But you can obviously, if Chicago wanted to dish him, you could be like, "Yo, please send me here," and they may be more willing And then if you get anywhere and you have a positive attitude about it, you're going to be better anyway. But.
Right. And then they were just kind of like warning him, hey, there's a lot of crap going on over here. Don't come. That's an interesting situation because, Cleveland has zero cap space, and they're going to be in the repeater tax even more now because the salary cap dropped from 101 to 99 million now.
Which was surprising.
And they were saying a lot of it was because of the playoff revenue was lower. So
that was the primary reason, I think, was the playoffs needed to go 7 rounds, and it didn't. Which, this is a good thing. Anyone who says that basketball is fixed is basically proven wrong right now. I would think.
Yeah.
If it was going to be fixed, but what would have happened is the Warriors would have gone up by 3-0, and then LeBron wins the next 4, and then LeBron's a living god.
And then Ayesha Curry would have really been like, the NBA's fixed. The NBA's fixed.
And she would have been right. But it didn't happen, so it's fine. We have proof that it's not fixed.
Oh, goodness.
So, the Cavs are a mess. I think, though, if LeBron leaves, they're not going to have much else. But a core of Kyrie and Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson, you can make the playoffs with that. Kyrie Irving's good enough to make the playoffs, I would think. Now there's a question of, did LeBron make Kyrie because he was never really this good before LeBron got there? I don't know.
See, my thing would be is if they did end up pulling off a trade for Jimmy Butler, the thing would be a core of Butler, Kevin Love, and Kyrie. I think that's a very formidable opponent, even if LeBron leaves, because they would still be under contract for at least one season altogether.
It's formidable, but you're not actually going to win anything with that.
You might win the Eastern Conference.
You could compete for the Eastern Conference. At that point, the Celtics would have a really good shot at beating you. The Wizards may even have a decent shot at beating you. And then we'll see what happens with Toronto and all the other players in the Heat. But yes, I think I agree with you. There's a lot of questions about what happens to all those guys when LeBron leaves, though. Can Kevin Love reclaim his former glory? If I had to bet on it, I'd say yeah, but we don't know. Can Kyrie be Uncle Drew without LeBron? Can he play both ends? Can he be an effective point guard? Because once LeBron got there, he didn't have to be the point guard anymore. He got to play 2.
He got to be Kyrie.
Which is an amazing thing to watch.
That's amazing.
But you can't lead a team that way. Kyrie can't, because there's games where Kyrie's off. Like, Kyrie's not Kyrie every game. This is getting into a tongue twister. And that sentence on its own. Kyrie's not Kyrie every game. That makes no
I knew
sense.
what you meant, and a lot of people would know what you meant, but then if you're the casual basketball fan or something, it's like, what gibberish are you talking
Here,
right
I'll
now?
explain quickly. Kyrie makes insane, ridiculous-looking shots consistently, but not every game. So he'll have good games where good Kyrie's here today. He'll make falling away jump shots. He'll make layups while his face is facing the floor. He'll do ridiculous stuff. And then there's bad Kyrie where he takes the same shots and they don't go in. That's what I meant.
That's just the nature of the NBA. And then I feel like he's very similar on his own to a Russell Westbrook kind of guy.
Yes.
Except a better shooter.
And a worse passer.
Yeah.
Like, Russell Westbrook isn't a great facilitator, but he is a great passer. Like, some of the behind the back stuff and backdoor, he's great passer. He's just not a good facilitator. Kyrie's got the best handle in the NBA. He's amazing. But
great finisher.
He's not a great passer. Like, he's not great at finding the open guy and getting it to him in a good spot where he can take a clean shot. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty with how that team would look. I think it would be a contender in the East. But, yeah. Where do you think... what about this LeBron situation?
I really don't know because, everybody's saying the Lakers or the Clippers. I can't really see him going to the Lakers because, really, why?
Well, I guess the first question, though, is he going to leave after next year?
I'm thinking it's becoming a lot more realistic because of the turmoil going on, especially if they've decided Chauncey is their guy. I mean, whether he has any real qualifications for that job.
I mean, it's the same thing as Magic Johnson. It's the same thing as Lynch in the NFL. Like, why are people hiring these GMs who have no front office experience?
And think about it. He got interviewed for the Hawks job and then took his name out of the running. Like, I mean, there was the potential he was the Hawks' first choice, which is like, why? I just don't understand it.
It's like these point guards who are great but not quite legendary get seen as these like basketball wizards, and sometimes it's the same thing that happened with Derek Fisher. Like, everyone thought he'd be a great coach, and he wasn't.
Or everyone wants Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas is a great example. Everyone wants this point guard to turn into Jason Kidd, because Jason Kidd's a great coach.
He's a great dang coach.
It's just not the way it works. I don't understand why. Yes, Chauncey Billups probably knows a lot about basketball. Yes, Chauncey Billups is a borderline Hall of Famer. Why would he be a good GM? I don't understand.
Honestly, one of the reasons, apparently Dan Gilbert loves him, offered him more money than David Griffin even came close to. But there's also the thing, like, him and Ty Lue are best friends, and that's one of his big hang-ups. It's like, can I actually be objective when it comes to being the boss of my best friend?
Like, the answer is no. That's a clear, like, conflict right there. You're going to have biases towards your friend.
And he's apparently really close with LeBron, too, but, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, I mean, can you really do that job? Or is it going to be, you're going to hire in so many of these guys on like cheaper deals, and then you're just going to be kind of like the face of the whole thing?
I wouldn't like that hire, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it might work out, but why wouldn't you just hire a guy with front office experience? I don't know. It makes no sense to me.
Because when Grant Hill's name was at least rumored for the Hawks job and the Magic job, the thing about Grant Hill is at least he has front office experience because he's part owner of the Hawks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the room where Chauncey Billups has been an analyst, you know?
Yeah, and not a particularly good one. Sorry, that's kind of shots fired. He was better than Paul Pierce, but still wasn't great. Paul Pierce is a horrible analyst. Please, ESPN, take him off TV.
And
he
David
said Kevin
Ross.
Durant is better than LeBron James. Just get out of here, Mr. Prisoner of the Moment.
He's just taking shots at LeBron. He's taking, that's all scorn right there is what that is. That's 100% scorn. Right. Oh, goodness.
Anyway, LeBron. Why would he go to I don't see why he'd go to the Lakers.
And I don't see why he would really go to the Clippers because, for one, they're not going to have any cap space if they sign Chris Paul to the contract he's going to require. I mean, yes, they brought in Jerry West, and he's been really good at convincing free agents to leave their spots and going to where he is. But, I mean, at the same time, it's not like, you know, Jerry West is on the Sacramento Kings and just like, oh, you know what, we got Jerry West, so he's going to bring every big-name free agent in here.
There's just not really a clear spot for LeBron. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're going to try the Banana Boat crew, because D-Wade will be a free agent. Melo will be a free agent, right? After next season?
After next season, yeah.
So 3 of the 4 will be free agents. They can all 4 convince, Steve Ballmer to spend a little bit of cash and make some room, and the Banana Boat goes to LA to play for the Clippers. I could see that happening.
That's the only situation I could really see
happening. And then LeBron plays for a couple more years and then retires. But I don't see why LeBron would want to do that. LeBron is still as good as he's ever been. I would think he would want to go to a contender. Go to the Spurs. Go to the Heat.
That's why I don't see him really leaving the East.
It's like the situation he's in right now is about as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, I mean, unless he goes and joins Golden State for nothing.
And could you imagine? What if that happened?
You wouldn't even watch the league.
If that happened, I wouldn't. Like, what's the point? Especially because LeBron is such an unselfish player. Oh my God.
That would be...
Your starting 5 would be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson,
LeBron James,
KD, and Draymond. 5 of the 20 best players and you have 3 of the top 5. That would be ridiculous. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't
want to see that happen.
I support Kevin Durant's decision and think it was overall slightly bad for basketball. That would be very bad for basketball.
That would torpedo basketball.
Yeah, it would. That would not be good. But it would be incredible at the same time. Please let it happen.
Oh, no, don't let that happen. I
want to see a team go 82-0. I want to see a team go 82-0.
And you know what the thing is? They'd probably lose to like the Kings or something in one of those games.
On a back-to-back
and go 81-1.
They'd lose one game on the road in a 4 games and 5 nights situation. Oh, God, that would be so great. And horrible at the same time.
That would be so terrible.
So, we don't know what's going to happen with LeBron, but I think it's clear that he will not be in Cleveland. And also, I wanted to bring something up, because I thought it was interesting. I heard it on a podcast. LeBron gets a lot of hate because he went to the Heat, right? I don't have a problem with what he did. I had a slight problem with how he did it. It's like the generation before us. We're both younger guys in our 20s trying to establish our careers, yada yada.
Yep.
Our parents and our parents' parents, when they got a job, they stayed with that company forever, basically until they retired, right? And if they moved, it was not very frequently. They got a job. I mean, both of my parents have been with their jobs for over 25 years.
And mine really haven't, and that's because they were there 30 years and then moved here.
Yeah. So our generation doesn't do that. They bounce around companies. They don't have quite the same like loyalty because they are loyal to themselves rather than the company. Why do we criticize basketball players for doing that then? Like, they're just a reflection of what our generation is doing, which is they're not as loyal to a team. They're loyal to themselves and their own legacy and their own families.
I think the main thing is that with sports teams a lot of the time, depending on, and basketball is a little different with this, you're more loyal to the city. Like, if you're from that city, like, say you're from Indianapolis, you're a huge Colts fan and a huge Pacers fan. It was what happened with me when the Rams left St. Louis. I can't stand the Rams right now. Like some of the players on there, Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald, but I was loyal. I was a fan of them because of the city.
As a fan, yeah, I agree. I'm talking about from a player's perspective. A guy from New York getting drafted by Sacramento isn't loyal to Sacramento.
I think that's the main reason people were upset with LeBron.
I agree.
Because he's from Cleveland area, and Cleveland's a whole different animal with sports teams. You know, like, they're one of the old, like, diehard cities. What Cleveland has is their sports teams. So when you see, like, the crown jewel, you know, son coming home kind of thing, it's a perfect situation. And then he leaves for, like, Miami and goes to the beach or something. Like, I could see why they were scorned in the first place, but they came back. But
I understand why fans get mad because you get super attached to your sports teams and you don't want them to get worse. But, like, just get over it. Like, it happens in everyday life. They're just a reflection of society.
That's what I see what happened with Oklahoma City and why those fans are so against Kevin Durant now, because they basically got this team from Seattle right as this team was on the up and up. It'd basically be like the 76ers moving, just changing cities right now, going to a city that had never had a professional sports team.
But that's the other thing. Like, I'm also against franchises just up and moving.
Oh, same here, yeah.
But I'm not against players up and moving because the franchise should have a loyalty to the city.
Well, see, that's the thing why I think a lot of fans don't like it, because they think there should be a loyalty to the fans because the fans pay tickets. You know, buy tickets and everything.
Ticket prices doesn't pay for the NBA anymore. We're past that point. Ticket prices are a small percentage of the money that NBA owners make.
But see, it's like a different relationship where it's like Jerry in accounting. If he leaves for a different company, it's like, yeah, you're sad, but if Jerry got a huge pay raise, you're like, okay, man, I'm kind of happy for you. And then you kind of move. But if it's like you have 7 Kevin Durant jerseys, you've met him in person a few times, gone to his charitable events, he's super involved in the community, and then he up and leaves for like the team.
Then be happy for him. He moved to a better situation.
It's a different situation though, and you know it is though, because it's not like you have Jerry from accounting's jersey that you wear or something. I mean, it's different where you're seen as...
I understand it's different, but it shouldn't be different to the point where you get angry at another human being for doing something that they think will better their lives and has absolutely no real impact on you. So, just be happy for people.
Isaiah Crowell, when he left Georgia, were you happy for him?
I mean, no, because he got kicked off.
Okay.
He's
the only person I could think of right now.
Like, if a guy transferred for a better situation. So here's a great... perfect example. USF, Willie Taggart was the coach of the football team of the school that I went to. I liked Willie Taggart. He's a great coach. He left USF to go to a better job. I'm happy for him. I'm not salty at him like some people would be, some people that I know and speak to on a weekly basis. Stupid Willie Taggart. How dare he go and better his life?
May or may not be listening to this podcast soon.
How dare he go and have a better life, a better job opportunities? I don't understand that. Just be happy for him. Everything in life is just a stepping stone to something else. I don't know. It's a weird thing that sports fans do. I've been a sports fan my whole life. I get it. But I'm happy for Mark Richt that he's coaching at his alma mater.
Same here. I mean, I was happy for Kirby Smart when he left for Georgia.
It's the exact same situation. You would have loved to have, if you had to choose, you would have preferred Kirby Smart to stay because he made.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I just knew he was waiting for.
Right, but I'm saying if he wasn't waiting, if like you had two options, Kirby Smart left, Kirby Smart stayed, you would have preferred he stayed because he's a great coach. But when he left, you weren't pissed off about it. You were happy for him. He got the job of his dreams. He's in a better situation.
And that's the main difference, though, because I knew Alabama was going to be okay. Because if Kirby Smart left, there may be a little bit of a difference in the defense, but you still have Nick Saban. Nick Saban left, probably be kind of pissed.
So
that's why I can do the comparable with LeBron James. When LeBron left, okay, well, Cleveland's automatically trash now.
Okay, you're a Grizzlies fan. If Mike Conley went to the Spurs, would you be mad at him or would you be happy for him?
At this point,
you'd be happy for him. He's gonna go try and get a ring, and you love Mike Conley, so you want him to get a ring before he retires. Mike Conley. That is exactly the same situation. I mean, sports are weird, man. Sports are weird psychologically.
Like last season, because I mean, I was very upset when Albert Pujols left the Cardinals.
But why? Who cares?
Well, I mean, I was mainly upset because he didn't leave for the offer with the most money, But
he went to the job he wanted that he thought would be the best for him and his family and his career.
LA before he left. He signed the contract.
Okay. He obviously thought it was best for him and his family. Who cares? Just be happy for him.
I mean, I am now because, I mean, I know we're okay, but at the time...
You are now because time has passed, so the emotional instant reaction is gone and you can look at it rationally. That's why you're okay now.
Well, that's why, like, you know, when LeBron came back and stuff, and even in the past, like, Cleveland fans were kind of starting to be okay with it.
Other than Dan Gilbert, apparently. Did you know that LeBron still hasn't said Dan Gilbert's name since he came back?
I did not know that.
I listened to an interview, and he straight up just said the Cavs owner. He didn't say Dan Gilbert. He said, you know, the Cavs owner, he'll, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wow. That dude still hates that man.
That's why I think Griffin was a really key factor.
Because he obviously liked Griffin.
He really liked Griffin and trusted him.
Well, he may have liked Griffin because Griffin did what he told him to do. Hey, I want JR and Shumpert. So Griffin got JR and Shumpert.
My story from what I heard about it was the Knicks offered, like, Griffin told LeBron what was going on, and the Knicks offered Shumpert and then said, well, we'll throw in JR. And then he went to LeBron's like, hey, I got this offer on the table for Shumpert, and they said they'll throw in JR. And he's like, of course I'll take JR.
God, Phil Jackson's a horrible negotiator. Yeah, we got this deal all worked out, right? Yeah, you could have Shumpert. Also, do you want JR? We don't want anything else from you, but you could just have him.
You want JR?
What?
Hey, LeBron, how you feel about JR? I love JR. All right, cool. Well, we're getting him and Shumpert. That cool? Yeah. Shoot, of course I'll take JR.
We gonna win 5, not 4, not 5,
not 6, not 7. He wasn't even there 7 years.
That'd be interesting to see him go back to the Heat, though.
No, I don't think that's happening.
No, I don't either. But it would just be interesting.
I mean, I guess he kind of sort of patched it up with Gilbert, but I mean, I think it was a different level.
He said, did you hear the interview he did not that long ago?
The secret motivator?
Well, so LeBron said his wife and his mom and all of his close friends all told him not to go back to Cleveland.
Yeah.
But he responded with, "This is bigger than me. This is about a legacy. And if I don't go home, my legacy won't be complete," basically.
Honestly, I think that was one of those things that was going to eat at him for the rest of his life because he wasn't able to do it in Cleveland.
Which wasn't his fault, but that's...
Yeah.
His best player was Mo Williams. Anyone who's mad at LeBron for leaving, I hate you. His best player in 7 years was Mo freaking Williams.
Hey, man, don't forget about Varejao. He was getting his. Flopping around on the court.
Varejao. And a broken Shaquille O'Neal. Come on.
What? I will... At the time, people thought Mo Williams was really good. He was an all-star.
Yeah, he wasn't that good.
I mean, I agree, but...
We saw the year after LeBron left that he really wasn't
because
that good.
It was like, you know what? Cleveland still got Mo Williams, and they can build this thing. Oh, Mo Williams, trash.
Yeah, he's very bad. He can't be the third-string point guard on a championship team.
I mean, he technically was.
Yeah, but he didn't play a minute.
Yeah,
I don't think he played a minute anyway.
I mean, he got traded 3 times this year, so I mean, hey, he's worth something, clearly.
His best teammate was Mo Williams. Come on. How are you going to get mad at him? I don't understand.
I think that was a great move for him because he treated Miami like his college experience. I mean, honestly, he's even come out and said that, I didn't go to college, and he left for 4 years, went to Miami.
Well, because he was basically home because he went to Cleveland and not anywhere far away. He was home his first 7 years in the NBA, and then he left home. He went away to Miami. And matured as a player and as a person, and won a couple rings, got another owner to hate him, and then came back to Cleveland.
I think Harrison still likes him. Pat Riley doesn't like him anymore. But...
I think him and Pat Riley are okay now. I think Pat Riley's smart enough to patch things up if LeBron wants to come back.
Oh, yeah, he could patch things up real quick if
Pat Riley's trying to get another good team before he retires.
He wants one more ring before he retires.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Well, how are we doing on time?
We're over an hour.
Oh God, we need to talk about Paul George.
Yeah, we got to talk about Paul George real quick.
All right, Paul George. So he came out and he said he wants to be a Laker,
according to his agent.
If his agent said it, his agent needs Paul George in the best situation possible.
Yeah, and I'm
that's the one dude that if he says something, I believe. It's not like Paul George's friend who heard something in passing. It's like, this is the dude who benefits the most from having Paul George be in a good situation and make a lot of money. I don't expect him to lie. Why? Okay. It's good. I think it is overall a good thing for the organization if you have a star player come out and tell you, hey, I'm not going to re-sign with you, so you might as well trade me and get something out of me. That's cool. I think that is a cool thing to do. It's the right way to handle it. But then you don't say what team you want to go play for. Because now, if you're the Celtics and all you knew was Paul George wants to be traded, you think, okay, we'll trade for him and then we'll convince him to stay. Great. And then you give up Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder for Paul George. You've got a great team you can contend with Cleveland with. But since you know he's going to the Lakers, you're not going to give up that much because you only have him for 1 year.
See, in theory, but it kind of goes back to the point we were talking about. They were unwilling to give that stuff up for Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler has more control than Paul George on his contract and everything. So if you weren't certain that you could re-sign Paul George, because then you'd have to re-sign Paul George and Isaiah Thomas at the same time.
Well, the Celtics were just an example. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, if you're the Heat, why would you trade Dragic and, I don't know, Justice Winslow and a pick for Paul George when most likely you won't be able to re-sign him? But if you didn't know he wanted to play for the Lakers, you would say that he has no team loyalty. We'll convince him to play for Pat Riley.
I think that's the thing, and why so many more people, like so many teams, are kind of offering stuff for him, is just gambling on him and trying to get him for a discount.
Right.
Because they know there's a really, really strong chance he just leaves for the Lakers. But if we get him here for a year, we're going to be better for this season, and maybe, just maybe, he likes it enough that he sticks around.
Oh, right.
Like, that's why Denver's going after him, because they have the capital to make a trade for him, because they have so many just depth pieces that they can give up their young, controllable guys. And maybe, just maybe, he likes Denver enough that he sticks around.
But you just said it. They're offering things at a discount. They're not offering what they would have offered if they thought they had a realistic chance to keep Paul George.
They're not offering, like, Jokic.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, if you thought you could keep Paul George, you would trade what you had to trade to get a superstar, to get a top 10 guy.
Right, because they're like, basically they're untouchables on that roster, Jamal Murray and Jokic, but they have like all these other younger guys that are kind of like under the radar.
I just mean, like, if Paul George was really wanting to do what's best for the Pacers, to be a good guy Paul George, he wouldn't have said the word Lakers.
Because, see, my thing is, did that come from Paul George? Did it come from his agent? Or did it come from the sources within the front offices? Because I know the Pacers started making calls to people shopping Paul George because, and they even admitted, yeah, we're expecting him to leave. He's not going to re-sign. And did people just put the pieces together saying, oh, yeah, he wants to go to L.A.?
Was it not the agent himself that said Paul George wants to play for the Lakers?
That's the reports. That's what he told Pritchard, the president of the Pacers. But my thing is, did that actually come from his agent?
But then if you're the president, so the president made that public.
The president said that Paul George wants to leave and isn't going to re-sign.
Then how did the Lakers come up in this?
That's my thing, because everybody assumes he wants to go to the Lakers. So that's my thing. Did it actually officially come out of the agent's mouth, or is it just what everybody assumed because the Pacers started making all those calls?
Regardless, I mean, Paul George at this point probably won't say anything. But if he wanted to be good guy Paul George, he should come out and say, the Lakers part is a lie. I'm not happy in Indiana, but I'd be happy anywhere, and I'd be willing to talk about re-signing anywhere I go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, though, is if he really wants to play for the Lakers, don't let the Pacers trade with the Lakers. Why would you do that?
Because you at least get him in LA right now.
But Paul George should want the best team possible by the time he gets to LA. It's the same thing. Carmelo did the exact same thing from the Nuggets to the Knicks. Was he made the Knicks trade for him, so they got rid of a bunch of things that would have been valuable.
Well, see, the thing is, if that's the case, if you just don't care anything about the Pacers getting any value, then you tell them, hey, I'm going to stay here and finish out my contract, and then I'm leaving.
But then they're going to try and trade you regardless.
See, that's the thing. You might as well go out to LA.
If you don't care about the Pacers, the thing you do is not say anything.
Yeah.
And make them think they have a chance and then just leave in the offseason.
Because, see, the Lakers, what they're offering was a package at a discount. It wasn't necessarily going to be people
even if it's Jordan Clarkson and Julius Randle.
It's people they have to clear out to make room for Paul George and another free agent anyway. What it is, and then maybe a pick in like 3 years.
If you're the Lakers, you don't need to be worrying about the second free agent. You get Paul George now.
Well, that's why they're trying to trade for him now, to get him in there, sign him to the extension, get him in the culture, and teach the young guys something, and make the younger guys better.
Well, that is a different discussion, because can Paul George really say anything about a winning culture?
I mean, he could with Vogel. They were like the number 1 seed.
Paul George has historically not been a great leader.
He will make the younger guys better, though, just for the fact that...
Just because he's a great basketball player.
Yeah, exactly. That's my main thing.
Paul George and Lonzo could be really good together if Lonzo doesn't bust like I'm afraid he might.
Yeah, that's kind of... We agree in that assessment.
Just because he's not really athletic. And I find it hard to believe that him getting torched by Fox won't happen again with John Wall and
or
Chris Paul
against De'Aaron Fox again, because they're going to play each other a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Man, that's going to be a fun matchup.
I mean, think about all the point guards he has to go up against. Steph Curry, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, he has to go up against... I mean, Devin Booker is technically a shooting guard, but he has to go up against Devin Booker.
James Harden.
Jamal Murray in Denver.
You can't defend these
Russell
guys.
Westbrook.
Oh, God, Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's going to make him look so slow. That's the test right there.
Can you guard Russell Westbrook?
If I was Lonzo, I would want to play a pickup game with Russell Westbrook just to see, can I make it in this league? Yes or no? The most athletic guy in the game.
Hello, Dad. Yeah.
Get me Russ.
Dad, we're going to really need to sell some shirts quick. We're going to sell some shirts and some shoes quick.
Where's the Thunder on our schedule? Oh, Game 7? Yeah, all right. We got about a week and a half to sell out our inventory before I get made to look a fool.
Then I'm going to just randomly have a knee injury every time the Thunder are on the schedule.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul George is a great piece. If you could get him, top 10 guy. We'll see. That's interesting. It's interesting that we have a for sure blockbuster trade gonna happen in the offseason, which we've already had one, the Jimmy Butler. But it's cool that we already have basically a guarantee that we're gonna have another.
Because see, my main reason and why I think Magic is gonna try to pull a trigger on a trade is think about over the past few years, everybody who's been rumored to, he's going to the Lakers, and then other things happen, like Kevin Love. He got traded to Cleveland. He's going to play that 1 year there. Then he's going to sign with the Lakers. LaMarcus Aldridge. Kevin Durant was rumored to be going to the Lakers before.
Russell Westbrook was rumored to be going.
James Harden. Anybody who's a star has been rumored to go to the Lakers.
Everyone wants to come to L.A. Yeah.
And be a part of other people's legacies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is the greatest franchise in the history of basketball, but anyway. Arguably
with the Celtics.
Yeah. We'll see.
And the Bulls.
No, the Bulls can't compete. The Bulls had one era of greatness. Yes,
arguably the greatest era.
No, well, they had the greatest player of all time, but they only had like a 7-year stretch. Yeah, I understand. That's what I'm saying. They had one era. The Celtics had several.
I mean, just when you think of the historically great teams, you think Celtics, Lakers, Bulls.
In that order, basically.
Yeah.
No, all I'm saying is the Bulls, historically, you can't compare the legacy of the Bulls to the Lakers and Celtics. Just like if you count the Hall of Famers, it's not even fair.
Well, yeah, because it's different leagues. Like, when basketball started exploding, it was Jordan's Bulls. Like, basketball getting more mainstream.
It depends, because the 80s was when it started. Partially because, you had a white guy that was really good. But we don't need to get into all that. Anyway. Look, I'm just saying. Anyway, we don't need to get into all that.
That's ending the show on a very odd note.
Nobody watched the Celtics with Bill Russell, but everyone watched them with Larry Bird. Is all I'm saying.
Not many people watched basketball back then. There were two different basketball leagues. It wasn't as televised.
I already said we don't have to get into that.
People didn't watch
it. Are we done?
Sure, let's end it.
Do we have a Florida man this week?
I kind of had a couple headlines pulled up.
How about this? No stories. Let's just read a couple headlines and chuckle to each other. All right.
So here's one.
And then we'll guess about what we think the story's about.
Florida blog from the Sun Sentinel here. Oh, wheelie, man in pickup captured stealing child's bicycle from yard.
That's good. Probably a sweet bike.
If they catch this guy riding the Tour de Thief, that's also the sub-headline.
Boo.
Yeah. Boo. They ought to make him do time on the chain gang.
Boo. Boo this man.
Boo. All right. Do we have to do this? DUI suspect allegedly asked deputy. Do we have to do this?
That reminds me of Le'Veon Bell not knowing it was illegal to drive while high.
What are you talking about? It's illegal to smoke weed and drive.
I'm not drunk.
I'm not drunk. I'm just high.
Oh, Le'Veon Bell. You're so good.
LeGarrette puts the blunt in LeGarrette Blunt.
Oh, because he was in the car with Le'Veon Bell.
Bell.
We aren't making a joke about anything else because that would be insensitive.
Sure.
Okay.
Serial mailbox trasher also tossed scooter through window, deputies say.
Wait, he's a serial mailbox trasher?
He smashed 9 mailboxes.
With a bat?
Yeah, I think so, or with his car,
sweet.
and then pulled 2 out of the ground and threw them through his ex-girlfriend's window as well as a scooter.
Oh, people are so crazy.
After he apparently kept her mailbox intact and left his shoe in there.
Ew. That's gross.
So I don't...
People are crazy.
He was apparently pretty angry just gallivanting the streets of Pensacola. So,
all right, is that it?
That's 3 headlines that stood out, so...
In the show.
All right, we're a little over time, but thanks for sticking around on our very NBA light show today.
Yeah, next week there will definitely be no NBA talk.
No
week.
Basketball talk whatsoever.
We'll
be previewing the Super Bowl, actually.
There will probably be some big trade that goes down next week that takes an hour of our next show.
But... LeBron gets traded to Portland or something, and then...
Man... I wish LeBron didn't have a no trade clause, because then we could talk about what
LeBron
happens.
Getting traded.
Yes, because if you're Cleveland and you know he's leaving, why wouldn't you? Or you think he's leaving anyway? You could get so much for LeBron James
because he's so underpaid.
Yes,
and nobody would criticize you for selling the farm for LeBron James because you're an instant contender.
You're gonna make it to the conference finals with LeBron James and nothing else.
Yes. Pretty much
college players and LeBron James, you're going to make it to the conference finals.
LeBron's going to the Kings. Book it.
That'd be a good team.
Actually, Ed.
Okay, thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Or listening,
we're out. Goodbye.
Bye.